let's talk about not having enough. So this is something I experienced in my own life, and I realize how much of my time I spend in lack, in a feeling of not having enough. Now, this came to me, I was watching a video by Joe Hudson. If you don't know Joe Hudson, he's a G. Like, he's super dialed in, one of the most like emotionally self-aware men I think that's like ever existed. The boy is dialed in, okay? So he had a video about having gratitude around money and how we basically almost all are experiencing not having enough and lack. So your system, mine too, pretty much everyone that I know is based in lack. Most of their emotions, most of their thinking, most of their feelings are around not having enough, being in lack and not having enough. Now, I noticed this myself when I went to practice gratitude, when I went to practice gratitude around having enough money. So the exercise here is like sitting down and writing out and feeling out all the ways that you do have enough money and resources. And what I noticed when I did this is how much lack is in my system, how much feeling of lack and how much feeling of not enough is in my system. And transparently, it's a lot. So not only did I notice that it was tough for me to like feel into having enough, and not only was it tough to feel into having enough money, but what I noticed even deeper is that lack came back really easy. So I would invite you just to try to feel into having enough. Like, okay, I have enough money. First, feel how hard it is to even get that like pattern into your system, to even get that feeling in. And then notice how quickly you switch back to lack, which is what most of our systems are accustomed to and attuned to, which is a feeling of not having enough, a feeling of lack, and a feeling of like, yeah, really just like being in lack, like feeling like you don't have enough, feeling like you're in lack. And it's a pretty hard habit to kick because it's like you are so accustomed to feeling that way. Like, not only are you feeling that way most of the time, but like also, real talk, most of the messaging in most of our culture and society, we are like reinforcing lack. Like, we're reinforcing not having enough and we are reinforcing lack. So it's something that it's really hard to like actually accomplish what you want and like really feel like good and like really feel like you have enough when you are more or less practicing lack and a feeling of lack and a feeling of not enough pretty much all the time. And it's honestly hard to like switch your system over to a feeling of enough. Like, getting your system acquainted with like the feeling of not enough to like having enough is actually a hard switch. So when I watched the video, it was like, hey, take some time, journal all the different ways that you really have enough. Like, all the different ways that you have enough money, all the different ways like valuing what you do have. And if you try this, what you'll find very quickly is that your system is super accustomed and really habituated to not having enough, to lack. And then we're like surprised that our results are not that good. We're surprised that we basically experience not enough and we experience lack on like multiple fronts. But that's also like the energy that we are putting out all the time. Like, the majority of our feeling and our thinking and our emotions are attuned to not having enough. That's most of what we spend our time in, is not enough. Lack, not enough. And then there's this saying in race car driving, which is don't look at the wall. And the reason is basically whatever it is that you look at, that's what you're going to head towards, right? So I find this concept really interesting because it's kind of counterintuitive to how we do most things. So the concept being focus on the feeling and what you actually want. But when you focus on what you want, most people are focused on the lack. When they focus on money or women or relationships or whatever, they're actually focused on the lack of money or the lack of relationships. Like their system, when they think about the thing that they want, they're really actually focused on how they don't have it. So what they're actually focused on is lack. And they're actually focused on not having enough, which we know what the result is going to be, which is going to be more of not enough, because that's what they're focused on. So it's this interesting approach, which, you know, transparently I'm still working on myself, which is like trying to get into the feeling of enough. Trying to get into the feeling and be focused on the thing that you want, but instead of focusing on the lack of it, you're focused on enough. And the way that you do this is you look for evidence and all of the different ways that you already have it, that you already have enough of whatever it is. And I know this can be a stretch. I'm not pretending that this is like a super easy thing to do. Like this can absolutely be a stretch. But the traditional way that people go after what they want is they think about what they want. They're really actually in the feeling of lack. They're focused on how they don't have enough. They're focused on dissatisfaction. And that is what their like energy is focused on. And that's what they're looking at. And then that's what they end up creating. They end up creating more of the same, more lack, more not having enough. This approach, which to me, you know, I heard about from Joe Hudson, which is, I mean, I guess Abraham Hicks talks about it too, which is like when you think about the thing that you want, actually not being focused on the lack of it, but being focused on having enough of it, okay? And like, this is hard to do. So when you think about money, most people are like, they're in the not enough and they're in lack. So whatever it is that you want, that you are trying to accomplish, my invitation to you would be basically in your little notes app or on a piece of paper or whatever, each morning, spending time seeing how you have enough of it, like expressing gratitude for what you do have and appreciation for what you do have, and looking for evidence that you have enough of the thing that it is that you want. And like really getting your brain, your body, your spirit, your emotions focused on enough. Focus on like how you have enough of it. Now, like I said, I am working on this myself, right? Like your boy is embarking on this journey of enoughness. So I shall report back. But from what I've seen, it's getting into the feeling that you have enough of it. I think journaling is a pretty good way to do this, or gratitude is a pretty good way to do this, but like making some sort of like practice each morning or each evening or whatever you want to like get into the feeling of enough around whatever it is that you want. Like getting out of the feeling of lack, out of the feeling of not having enough, and getting into the feeling of having enough. And I would just run it as an experiment, right? Like just see what's up, man. Like, you know, be like, there's this crazy guy on the internet, he said to do this, I'm just gonna try it for 30 days and see what the deal is. So my guess for you is that you'll notice how much you're in lack, and like how much of your time is spent focused on how you don't have enough of a thing, and focus on like how you're lacking it, and honestly how shitty that feels in your system, because it does not feel good. So the first thing I think you'll notice is like most of your time is spent in lack. The next thing I think you'll notice is that once you're able to kind of like get your system switched over to enough, I think you'll realize how quickly you switch back to lack. And you're like, oh my God, I'm basically spending 99% of my time in lack and in not enough. Now, I'm not blaming you for this. Like, you know, culturally, we in America, it's like up and to the right, not enough, not enough. There are all these messages coming at you. And then also the way that our brains are wired, like, you know, they kind of look for, you know, the more pessimistic side. So like, this is a very normal thing. This is basically like what everyone's in. So like, unless you're taking some time, some proactive time to like focus on how you have enough and like allowing that feeling in and like really switching over, like making a proactive effort to like switch over to that. Unless you're doing that, you're basically going to be experiencing lack. Like there's really no way around it. And I just don't know how you actually create the results that you do want from that space. Like, I think if you're focused on how you don't have something and focus on the lack of it, like it's very hard to actually create the result that you want. Because even if you do get the thing that you think will switch it, you're still in the loop of dissatisfaction. You're still in the loop of practicing lack and practicing not enough, which is why the people like, you know, I want more women or I want more money, and it's like they get it and they're like still just as empty because their entire focus is on how they don't have enough of it and how they lack it. And like I said, I do the same thing. I'm not here to talk shit on you guys. Like, I do the same thing, dude. I also spend most of my time in lack. And then I'm surprised, shocked that I don't actually have the result that I want, which is crazy. So I am going on a 30-day challenge of each morning taking out time to like switch my system over to having enough, getting it out of lack and getting it focused on the things that I want and how I already have enough. And I will report back how that goes. I'm curious if you guys try it, what the result is for you. I'd love to hear from you guys. I'd love to see you guys test it and play with it and like, tell me what happens, man. Like, see what the deal is. Also, drop my email below the video. As always, if you ever want to chat or connect, drop me a message. Love to see what you're working on and support you on whatever it is you're trying to do. All right. Love you guys. Todd out. But as always, I shall return.